What is the percentage of very successful legacy? Or in other words, why are so many legacies unsuccessful? Or in other words, why are so few legacy last? So I will give you just some thoughts and some inspirations from a discussion about this topic. And it's very serious because maybe you as a family, but also as an entrepreneur, or you spend a lot of money for fancy or interesting legacy consultants. And maybe there's a very little chance that your legacy will last. And I will give you just some inspiration, some thoughts, how I have a perspective on this and how I approach this. So, in general, a legacy, yes, it is a very important topic in each family. The question is more, how do you secure that your legacy will be last? Or in other words, how can you scale your lineage over the next generations? So let's have a meta perspective on this topic, legacy. On the other hand, legacy is just a fancy word. In many cases, it's just a buzzword. It could be that you ask 10 people and you will get more than 20 responses. What is actually in legacy? And most interestingly, what I found is just if there's anybody to talk about a legacy, it could be that he or she don't have any clue about her own legacy. That is not the right way. So in most cases, excuse me, in most cases, the legacy is just from the past. And what I mean by this is just there are the parents or your father or your grandfather have set up this kind of definition, what could be or should be last over generations. So, and in many, many cases, it's just that this legacy is on the one hand just paperwork, and on the other hand is also that the legacy, the past, is driven the present, the today, decisions, communications, and stuff like that. And it could be there's a great chance on this that the past will be perpetual, your present. It will be the same. Today will be the same as yesterday. And, you know, if you are just an entrepreneur or a business owner, you have a great experience maybe with scaling up your business. But make it clear, what is scaling? Also a fancy word today. Scaling is just growing your business, also growing your family, growing your lineage. That is also a very important point today and also tomorrow. So what I will give you just as an idea, just a different perspective, how do you can preserve your lineage? How do you can preserve your legacy? How you can scale it up or grow it up over the next generations? Here's a quite easy example I would use for you. And once again, in most families, the past determining the present. It is what it is. But if you change your perspective that the future will shape and determine your present, that is a quite different approach. And it makes the past, in some cases, obsolete. Yes, you can learn a lot from your past, but the question is more, how do you can scale up your legacy? How you can scale your lineage? Or in other words, how do you can grow your family? It will be grow over the next generations. So if we change the term legacy or legacy goal to an impact goal, that is just more future driven or describing your present from the future. And here's an easy example what I give you just. Make this simple example with your family and say, okay, how should grow our lineage, how should grow our family over the next 100, 200, 500 years. Maybe that is a very attractive impact goal, what you should address. And you put your family today now in the boat and say, okay, we are there now. We are in 500 years now, today. It's a very fascinating exercise, I can tell you. And then describe this picture. How is your family look like? How is it grown? How many family members do you want to have? How is this operating business growing, scaling up around the globe? What kind of impact do you want to approach? Make it 10 times, 100 times, maybe 1,000 times bigger if you can imagine today. Make this a little exercise on this. Paint the picture very clear. Use very powerful colors for that kind of impact. Because what I can tell you is just you will differentiate yourself as a family over your impact in the future. Not about this fancy word legacy. Yes, once again, the legacy is a very important part of each family. But it is just more the question, how do you stay competitive as an entrepreneur family, as a tribal family, as a sovereign family over the next generation? That is the most important point. And many of you, they say, no, we won't have competition. Yes, you will have a lot of competition over the next decade, believe it or not. So, and if you have used colorful, powerful colors for your picture, make this picture very, very clear. Paint it. Use every ideas, every inspirations, and bring dynamic in the room and paint a picture. And if you have done this kind of picture, look backward and ask yourself as a family leader, as a family leadership team, or the entire family, okay, what should be done? How we can achieve this? And then make a clear action plan today, because then that's a very different situation. Then I can tell you is that your present will be determined from your impact goal, and not what's laying on the desk of your parents or paperwork, what is drafted as a legacy. Try it out. It is very, very powerful, and it will drives you over the next months, years, maybe decades, and also centuries. That is the most important key component, or what I call it, that's the key to scale up your lineage. Maybe you can say to me now, I won't grow my lineage. Okay, then you are gone. Then the 3-generation conflict will happen to you. And I guess that is not your goal, what you want to achieve. So maybe that kind of inspiration is very, very helpful. Please consider the question, what makes a legacy really seriously successful over generation? I would say that isn't just the approach from yesterday, what many are using. Very, very successful legacy are looking from the future, determine the present, all the actions, all the discussions, all the decisions will be shaped and will be determined from the future. It is also that you have a very complete different cohesiveness in your family. Try it out. Maybe, once again, that kinds of inspiration on this sunny Sunday today will be helpful for you. And until next, be bold.